This journey began as a solo trip, 3 weeks in Quetico, traveling light, traveling far, and letting the route unfold a lake at a time. 2 weeks of solo travel from east to west boundary of the park, and then a meetup with a group who will be inserted in the McAree Lake. I entered along the international border at Moose Lake, with transportation provided by Laterals. Followed the Knife Lake corridor east to west before turning north up the falls chain and into one of my favorite places in the park, Canoe. The remarkable beauty and fertility of this lake is a way of slowing you down, and on this occasion, the weather forced the issue, pinned me in place for almost a week at what is probably my favorite campsite, a place I call Paradise Island. During those layover days, due to my familiarity with the site, I was able to fish right off the island and enjoy great walleye and bass action. And if that wasn't enough, I also landed the largest northern pike I've ever seen up there. Over the course of this layover, I realized that the group I was scheduled to meet on the far western boundary might have a real problem. With recent RABC changes, demand at that entry point had surged, and securing a campsite could make or break their trip. So the plan shifted, and rather than loitering around in Russell and Sturgeon as originally planned, I pushed forward through the Hunter Island Loop and then down the Malign River, traveling with the current for a change. The goal was simple: arrive a few days early, secure a site, and hold it. The rest of the trip unfolds right there. Shared meals, fishing, stories, laughter, and the quiet rhythm that only emerges after days in the wild. So come along on another paddling adventure. There's a special kind of energy at the very start of a wilderness trip. The packs are loaded, the plan is still intact, and everything ahead exists only as possibility. The tow ride isn't just a shortcut. It's the slow separation from roads, schedules, and signal bars on electronics. Not long after leaving Prairie Portage, the wilderness rhythm starts to take hold. Paddle, glide, breathe. Then I passed a scene that just makes you smile. 2 canoes tied together, drifting and fishing like a floating front porch. They came from opposite coasts, but meet here every year, 16 seasons now, base camping and exploring these lakes 1 day trip at a time. And somehow, between the portages and the quiet water, strangers become part of the same tribe.
20 days. Yeah.
There's an easier way through here, a straighter line that stays right on the international border. It's well traveled and predictable. But I'd never seen these other lakes before, and sometimes that's reason enough to turn the canoe in a different direction. The alternate route meant fewer portages, but the carries were longer and rougher, and they traversed marshes, wide stretches of water threaded through grass and alder. It took more effort to get here, more sweat, more time under a pack. But that's often how this place works. The harder line on the map sometimes leads to the places that feel the most untouched.
We are on Back Bay, just
heading into Knife Lake. That's Knife Lake right out there. We found a campsite. It's okay, but not the greatest tent pad. Not so level. There's not a level tent pad in this whole site. Funny thing about this one is it has an iron fire grate. For a minute I thought, what the heck? Am I in the Boundary Waters? But of course I'm not. And the fire grate doesn't say US. Yeah, so that's as level as I could get. Our shit's just leaving our site on Back Bay and heading into Knife. That's Knife looking towards Moose Lake, and I'm going to be going right out there to the left.
My name's Jeff. Actually born in International Falls, and I've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and wasn't able to do it a few years ago, and now had a chance. A friend invited me, and it's more beautiful here than I thought it would be. Even though I'm somewhat familiar with Wisconsin and Minnesota, it is. We saw some cygnets.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, my name's also Jeff from Wichita, Kansas.
The other Jeff.
The other Jeff. I've been dreaming about this place for over 40 years. So now that I'm in my 60s, I met someone at work that the scenery up here is incredible. You don't hear cars, trains.
Yeah, it's far beyond my expectations. It's beautiful out here.
And you're just...
Yeah, every day is something new.
Yeah.
Every lake is different. It's amazing. And the birds, the flora, it's all just, it's beautiful. And I want to thank my wife for letting me come to this, because this is just, it's been huge.
So here's our experienced Quetico veteran. Tell me again how many people you've introduced to the park.
I figure it's right about 60 now.
That is amazing. You are a hero, sir.
So, yeah, I started, my high school physics teacher, Dr. Warren Winters, organized a trip in '79. I haven't come as often as I'd like, but it's 900 miles, so this is, I think, about it's either my 18th or 19th trip.
Wow. That guy has brought nearly 60 people into this way of life, into canoes, portages, and wild places. That's how this culture grows, through invitations and keeping the level of enthusiasm at a fevered pitch. What a legacy. Paddles in the water, a good dog in the bow, and another generation heading deeper in. Safe travels, guys.
Yeah, safe travels to you. Be looking forward to your video.
Here's that little opening on Knife Lake, right along the international border. U.S. on the right, with the Benny Ambrose plaque on it. The plaque is directly ahead. Benny Ambrose, who I did a deep dive on in a former video from, I think it was last fall, yeah. And that's where he lived. In fact, you can see kind of the opening where his cabin would be. This is the Monument Portage, one of the historic crossings along the border route, traveled for generations by voyagers, traders, and now paddlers. But history doesn't make it easy. The heart of this trail is a bog that locals joke is the Northwoods version of quicksand. Step off the line and you could sink deep enough to lose a boot or your balance. That's why these plank walkways matter, guiding each careful step towards solid water. Right here, I crossed paths with a group of kids from Florida, wide-eyed, muddy, and already collecting stories of their own. This portage has been testing travelers for a long, long time. The ranger warned me. I walked right into the water. I got stuck in the muck. Oh, man. I think I would have known better. Now I'm trying to pull my foot out without losing my shoe. Oh, man. Wow.
Okay. Where are you guys from?
Florida.
Get out! You came all the way up from Florida.
We sure did. It's living up to the hype. It's beautiful out here.
What's the trip plans for?
We're actually headed on our way back now. We have one more night left.
Uh-huh.
We had 2 nights before.
Uh-huh.
Went down Knife Lake to Otter Track and Cherry Lake. That
Oh,
was good.
nice.
Yeah.
You really picked a good route.
Oh man, great weather too.
Yeah. Monument Portage.
As the border twists towards Sag, the world narrows. The channel tightens to little more than a canoe's width. Rock, reeds, and just enough water to float through. And then, just ahead, the water begins to open, and Sag waits on the other side. Sag Lake opens wide. Just offshore lies the Cache Bay Ranger Station, one of the gateways into Quetico, where permits are checked and advice passed to paddlers headed deeper into this wilderness. Now I paddle north towards Silver Falls and the falls chain beyond. Ahead lies the next chapter of the journey.
Flattest tent pad I've seen in a long time. I'm gonna sleep like a baby. It's from the top here. Portage is on the right coming up. You don't want to go over that. Look at that water foaming. Wow. Not a very good view. Boy, you can sure hear them. Horse. Love dogs.
Out here, you meet all kinds of dedicated paddlers, but these two might top the list. A Canadian couple traveling with 2 big dogs and an entire barrel pack carrying 80 pounds of dog food. That's not just planning, that's devotion. It's another reminder that the people drawn to this life aren't just canoe lovers. They're kindred spirits in all the ways that matter.
Here we are on Dead Man's Portage. Now I see why they call it this. In a wet rain, this rock is as slick as a wet log. And down he goes. Woo! Okay. Not bad.
The falls chain isn't just a series of portages, it's a series of decisions. Steep drops, slick rock, sharp angles. Every step matters when the margin for error disappears. You slow down, read the line, test your footing, and move with intention. Because out here, precision isn't about efficiency, it's about consequences.
Here's that nice sight right on the portage. Not bad. Definitely don't want to do this in high water. So there's the portage. And there's the falls. So.
With Kennebass Falls behind me, the lake stretches north and the miles begin to blur into rhythm. Stroke after stroke, familiar shoreline starts to take shape. Points, islands, waters I've come to know by feel. And then, in the distance, there it is, Paradise Island. Some purely wonderful places feel discovered the first time and recognized every time after.
So I was coming up Canoe, and I've been hearing about this thunderstorm that's supposed to hit us. So I pulled off a little early, pulled off at 3 o'clock. I was going to go all the way to the north tip and camp on that high spot. And I thought, if I get laid over tomorrow, I want to be right here on Paradise Island. I could fish from shore. So I pulled over, dried out, set up, and I just got the tarp up, and bam, here's a storm. We're going to do a tour of Paradise Island.
There's a small trail on this island, just a short loop, maybe 20 minutes to walk, but it feels like a world of its own. It's the one place here where you can see the northern horizon, the only real window into the weather moving our way. I walk it often, not just for the view, but to listen, watch, and stay in tune with what the sky has planned next.
Here's the tent pads. I'm actually going to go down and take a look and see if it's not too slick for me to fish off the rocks down here. That's the one issue with the rain. These rocks get so slippery. And when I slip into the water, you can see there's a nice trail going right down to the water. This is actually where I normally go. Yeah. We'll see. It's a little iffy. Here we are off the southern tip. It's the 5th fish in about 10 minutes. It seems more like a bass. Ooh. Funny, there's a school of bass here too. Usually it's walleye. That's the direction I have to travel. Obviously not going to do so today, but hopefully tomorrow she'll settle down a little bit.
After a layover day, I broke camp and pointed north. But the moment I cleared the island and met the full fetch, Canoe made its opinion known. Waves splashing straight over the bow. That's the kind of feedback you don't debate. I turned for the nearest shore, a campsite I know well, and safely beached the canoe in the rolling waves.
Here's where I'm stuck for right now. So here's where I was. What I did is I just portaged over to here. And look at that. So, made a decision. I'm gonna hunker down on Paradise Island for a couple more days, and I'm gonna fish that back bay since it's protected from. I'm back. After 3 days of wind, cold, rain, finally the sun. So today's supposed to be in the low 50s, still northerly winds. Yeah, how uncertain the weather is. I'm all packed up, ready to go fishing. And then I noticed some clouds coming in. So I took a hike, a barefoot hike, by the way, to the front of the island, and there's what's coming. So thank goodness I didn't go out right away. I'm gonna have to stay back and let this blow over.
Heading down to the canoe, I nearly stepped into a little drama already underway. A brood of mergansers, a dozen young, feeding tight to shore, with one parent standing watch. In an instant, the water came alive. Wings, splashes, soft alarm calls. Even here, you're never really alone. You're just moving through someone else's morning. This is one of those spots where geography does you a favor. Even with a hard north wind pushing across Canoe, this shoreline sits in a perfect lee. Calm water tucked just out of the blow. Below the surface, the structure drops into that sweet zone, 12 to 25 feet, ideal depth for both walleye and smallmouth this time of year. Most of the fish here come on jigs, worked slowly along the break where rock meets deeper water. The wind up top gets the food chain moving, stirs things up, and triggers feeding behavior. You know what time it is. The next day looked a lot like the first. Steady action, fish after fish, all within the 12 to 25 foot depth zone. Fall does this. Cooling water pulls fish out of summer patterns and into feeding mode. They know it's coming. The food chain tightens up. Everything starts eating with purpose. What's interesting though is what I'm not catching. No big northerns yet. And that almost makes it better. Because in water like this, with jigs moving along the break, you know they're down there, watching, waiting. I'm going to read the preface to one of my favorite books, Sigurd Olsson's Of Time and Place. There's a very special background to this book for me. It was my first book written by Sigurd that I had ever read. The collection of experiences I've brought together in this book seems to fit into the broad pattern of what I have known in a lifetime of searching for meaning. Each experience is colored by my imagination and fantasy and grows out of an attachment to the land and a feeling for its antiquity. As I look back upon the many places I have been and upon the intimate relationships with natural things close to me. These vignettes are entwined in my thoughts and dreams. No two individuals see the world in the same way. What has touched me may not affect you, but there is a common bond, for we are human, the only creatures on earth who can look at a scene with wonder and delight, and sometimes with dismay. I have written about rocks, arrowheads, erratics, and mementos, things that have a very personal message for me. Some chapters tell of intangible things, mysterious and sacred things that have an emotional impact on our minds and spirits. And I also have talked about the great cycles of climatic change, over which we have no control, the periods of drought, tornadoes, earthquakes, and glaciers. We simply accept them as inevitable, thankful we have survived, and have become convinced of the durability of the surface of the earth which we have been allowed to enjoy and love for a short time. I offer this book to you in the hope you will find something of personal value, perhaps even a sense of recognition of some experiences in your own lives that resemble mine, or perhaps it might be a guide to knowing. And if that turns out to be true, I shall be eternally grateful. According to Donna's forecast, today's the last day of this system, and the wind's going to shift from the south. It was a day ruled by the number 20, 20-inch bronze, 20-inch gold, and then 20-plus pounds green.
Oh my gosh. Look at that guy.
This was my scariest moment because one of the issues with these pack canoes is that fish oftentimes jump inside the boat due to the low freeboard. It's happened to me before. This, to me, is the most dangerous posture imaginable. One wrong move, one whip of that tail, and it could have been in my lap. What a scene. A tiny 22-pound pack canoe and a giant fish pulling it around. I had 2 cameras running, one on the gunnel, one on my chest, and somehow they caught the moment. Normally, with big northers, I can secure them one-handed behind the gills. But this fish was different. Just too much mass, too much power. I had to go to the gill plate, something I almost never do, just to bring it to hand. That's when you know you're dealing with a true giant. With a fish this size, the goal isn't just a photo or a fight story. It's ensuring it swims away healthy. Minimize handling. Keep it supported. Get it back in the water as quickly as possible. The faster it returns to the lake, the better its chance of survival. And that's the real victory here.
There he goes.
Holy moly. After 6 days pinned down on Paradise Island, due to gusting north winds, intermittent rain, and temperatures in the low 40s, the forecast finally shifts in our favor. Tailwinds, warming air, a window to move north. Under normal circumstances, this would feel like pure relief. But today, there's weight in the paddle. Because the miles ahead lead through North Canipi, water I know well, shorelines I've come to love, now changed by the fires of 2021. Sometimes, forward progress means heading straight into places you're not ready to see again. Paddling deeper into the burn, the scale of it settles in. Shorelines I once knew by heart look unfamiliar now. Silhouettes of trees where green walls used to stand. Places tied to good memories feel altered, almost harder to recognize than the map suggests. But as the miles pass, I realize the damage isn't as complete as I feared. And once the malign carries me north, through Kanippie and towards Shelley, the scars begin to fade. Green returns. The forest closes in again. For a while, at least, the North Woods feels whole. From the top of the Have-a-Smoke portage, the double falls spill into Keats, wild, loud, and beautiful in that way only moving water can be. But just ahead lies Split Rock Falls, and that's where the tone shifts. In any conditions, this one demands attention. A tricky start to the trail, slick footing, and some very steep climbs. It's a reminder that along the course of the Malign River, as it passes through these beautiful lakes, although the scenery may be stunning, the margin for error stays small. Once out on Chatterton, the mood shifted fast. Distant thunder started rolling across the lake, low and steady, like a reminder that weather still had the upper hand. I hugged the shoreline, moving from point to point, only crossing open water when I had to, and then quickly back to cover. It felt like another front sliding in, a repeat of the past week. At that point, the goal was simple: reach Russell, find flat ground, and get the tent up before the sky made the decision for me. Well, here we are on Russell, and had some surprise thunderstorms last night, just as we landed, so we were lucky to get set up before the rain, and hopefully today it's going to be nice weather. We're going to travel all the way up Sturgeon. The morning kept that heavy feel at first, so even though the weather continued to be stormy, Donna had assured me that a huge transformation was coming, and to hang in there. I kept the faith and paddled into Sturgeon, all the way up toward the mouth of the Malign River. By the time I reached the famous Sand Peninsula campsite, Donna's promise had been fulfilled. I spent the afternoon then walking the beach, soaking in the rays, drying out gear, and luxuriating in the resort-like environment of this wonderful place. First light is just starting to touch the lake, and everything close to shore feels calm and clear. But about a mile out, there's a wall, a solid band of fog stretched across the water like a shoreline that doesn't belong there. It's sitting low, thick, and silent, hiding whatever's on the other side. And the only way forward is straight into it. Boom. Look at that. There I was, in the middle of Sturgeon, on a sunlit September morning. And yet, the world had vanished. Fog wrapped the lake in every direction, thick and absolute, erasing shorelines, distance, even direction. I was traveling by compass alone. It felt like floating inside a cloud, suspended between water and sky. Moments like this remind you how quickly the familiar can turn mysterious, and how small and lucky you are to be inside it. Ahead lay the mouth of the Malign River, where quiet water gives way to moving current and the first voice of rapids downstream. I made a wide, deliberate arc, lining up early for the right-hand shore where the portage begins. River, and I just ran into a former scout leader.
You know, I've been up here 12, 14 times back to high school with friends and so forth. So even though they're great campers, this is their first wilderness canoe trip. And they've been really, really good campers. But they've never really, the paddling.
Yeah.
They're the only thing, they've done everything great. They just need to learn the stern a little bit. That's
okay. Well, and that's
stroking.
that stern is the tough one. You always put the advanced guy in the back, right?
I've been hoping for. Oh, and then the other quick thing I would say is the navigation. I brought my map and compass, which is the way we've always done it. This time they brought the Garmin Mini inReach with the SOS, and he's got it linked up to his phone, so he's got the satellite download. So he's navigating with his phone, and puts my map to shame.
And when was your first year up here?
78.
78 or so. Okay, before me. And where'd you go?
Yeah, we put in at Beaver House. So we came down all across Quetico Lake, down Jean, Burnside, Rouge.
How'd you?
No, I'm an Eagle Scout. I've never really done any kind of canoeing. We're up here in Quetico. And
Yeah.
He's been doing this for decades now, and he's always talked about it. And this is the first time all three of us are out here. So
You're so lucky to have a dad that brings you up here like this.
Yeah. Well, we're bringing him up here. We're the pack mules, and
Mark, what's your experience with Boy Scouts in Quetico?
Well, Boy Scout. I'm 23 now, so you age out of Scouts 18. So obviously, my first Quetico trip. My dad's been coming up here for years and years. Definitely more beautiful than I ever imagined. It is absolutely gorgeous here. We went through Rouge Lake, and that was gorgeous. It's a lot more paddling than I thought. That's for sure. And we had an interesting day yesterday coming out of Jean Creek, and we missed our last portage. We couldn't find it, and we were stepping over beaver dams.
Oh no!
Yeah, knee deep in water. But so far, it's been an absolute joy. I mean, the fishing is great. The weather is great. It was rainy the first few days, but I mean, it's been like an absolute dream. He's been talking about it for years and years and years.
Yeah.
We're finally at the point we're out of college, and now we got time to do it. So, come up to Quetico. I guess we got to bring the age average down a bit. Right, some younger people. I mean, it's beautiful. I always like to say a question like that is ask her out, whatever it is. Just don't be afraid to do it. Take the leap of faith and just get out there and have fun. So
yeah, and I'm just thankful to God for some prayers answered, safety, harmony, and fish.
Yeah.
Nice and flat, nice paddle once you get through the rapids. After a few easy miles riding the current, the river began to feel less like a highway and more like a reminder. Tomorrow would be work, a string of muddy portages through Beaver Marsh, then the drop toward Min. So tonight was about positioning. I needed a solid camp, good rest, and an early start. McCree was the goal, and the good campsites there don't wait around. I also still had to pass through Tanner, which I had heard was badly burned, and this proved to be true. So tonight was about positioning. I wanted just a flat spot to set up my tent, here on the river, at the mouth of the portage. McCree was the goal for tomorrow, and the earlier the better, because the other party was driving across the country for a Quetico experience, and they were planning to base camp right in the most crowded area. I needed to secure a campsite for them, and I was a couple days early, so I felt confident that I could achieve the objective. So after only my second attempt to find a flat spot on the tiny elongated islands which border the portage here, it was time to settle down. This site hasn't been used in probably decades. Look at that. But here it is. Nice flat tent pad. Everything a guy could ask for. As the river unravels into marsh, the trail stops looking like a trail at all. There are no worn landings, no obvious path, just water dissolving into grass, channels splitting and rejoining like veins in a leaf. This is where the compass earns its place. A quick glance, a mental line drawn across the map, and then eyes back to the surface of the water, searching for the faintest hint of current. Beaver dams rise like little barricades, each one asking a question, over, around, or through. Creeks narrowed to canoe width, then open unexpectedly into shallow ponds that feel more like sky than water. Every turn looks like the last. Every direction feels plausible. There's a strange peace in it, though, moving slowly, problem solving, reading the land the way travelers have always had to do. No signs, no noise, just instinct, patience, and a willingness to be briefly unsure. And then, almost without realizing it, the maze begins to lean downhill. The water gathers itself again. Min Lake is somewhere ahead. After a couple of easy portages, I slid into McCree and immediately started seeing canoes. Not just one, a few. I paddled over to Tom's designated campsite. It was occupied. All right, no big deal. Next site, occupied. Next one, same story. At one point, I pulled up on a tiny island, found it to be unsuitable, and then I walked to the highest point and started glassing the shoreline, scanning for anything. And then I saw it, a big opening in the trees, way bigger than just a game trail or windfall gap. I checked the map, no campsite marked. I didn't waste any time. I planted my flag and got camp set fast, just beating the next round of storms. That night, my visitor and I tucked in under the shelter while another long, soaking rain settled over the lake. It poured through the dark and straight through the following day until the very moment Tom's group was due to arrive. I'd passed word through Donna, and she relayed my location. Sure enough, through a full-on downpour, right on schedule, their canoes came sliding out of the Foray. When they hit shore, it was like watching a well-practiced chain gang. Packs moving hand to hand, paddles stacked, boats stacked, all of it happening in a steady downpour. Didn't matter. The rain didn't touch their spirits. They were laughing, moving, calling out loads, working like a team. Within minutes, gear was off the boats and everyone ducked under the tarp, hands wrapped around hot coffee, steam rising into the gray morning. After 2 weeks of solo silence, the energy they brought into camp was unreal. After the rain finally subsided, the guys headed to their chosen tent pads to get set up. There were at least 5 to 6 decent pads, and for my part, given that the September bugs are not a problem, I pitched my Big Agnes deeper into the woods, which is my preference in the fall. Camp life starts with the simple things. Wood cut to length, water hauled, gear laid out where it belongs. Out here, comfort isn't bought, it's built, one small task at a time. No one gives orders. Everyone just knows what needs doing. It's the kind of work people have shared in these woods for centuries. Voyagers, trappers, guides, each camp a small, temporary village at the edge of the wild. There's a certain moment each day when the activity slows and the smell of food takes over camp. There's fish on the stove and steam curling into the cool air. Out here, a meal isn't just refueling. It's a pause, a chance to sit close, pass things hand to hand, and feel the miles in your shoulders start to fade. The voyagers knew this rhythm well. Paddle hard, then gather close. Because in the wilderness, food is more than a culinary pleasure. It fuels the body, sure, but more than that, it fuels the very spirit of the camp. Fishing days start quietly in camp. Outfits assembled, leaders checked, knots retied. Someone holding a lure up to the light, like it holds the answer to the morning. No rush, just the small rituals that come before pushing off. Boats slide back into the water, bows turning toward the open lake. Paddles dip and camp shrinks behind you. Out here, the lakes don't give anything away. You earn what you find. One cast, one drift, one patient stretch of water at a time. There's a rhythm to it. Cast, retrieve, watch the line, feel the wind, listen to the small sounds. Water on the hull, a distant loon, the quiet between words. Some days the fish come easy. Other days they make you work for every bite. Either way, you just stay with it. When a rod bends, everything sharpens. The canoe shifts, the net comes up, and for a moment, the whole lake feels connected to the line in your hands. Something happens when people share a camp for a while. At first, you're just individuals in the same place. Different habits, different rhythms, different ways of doing things. But the wilderness has a way of smoothing those edges. Out here, no one carries the load alone. Consideration stops being polite. It becomes natural, necessary. Living this close to the elements and to each other changes the way you see people. You learn strengths. You learn quiet kindnesses. By the end of the week, it doesn't feel like a group that happened to share a campsite. It feels like a small community that rose up for a little while at the edge of the lake, built on shared work, shared meals, shared weather, and shared wonder. The wilderness asks something of everyone, and when people answer that call together, what grows between them is hard to describe, but easy to recognize. It's more than friendship. It's the bond that forms when people depend on each other and discover they can.
Wait. Would you look at what these guys did?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
You guys are the most thoughtful. Oh my gosh. Blow me away. Blow me away.
Anyway, we thought you'd enjoy that.
Breaking camp always happens the same way, slowly at first. A fire ring gone cold, lines untied, tents folded back into the packs they came from. The small village we built here all week begins to disappear, piece by piece, until the shoreline looks like we were never there at all. The portage in the Lac La Croix feels different than the ones that brought us in. Packs are a little lighter, steps a little slower. No rush now, just the quiet understanding that the trip is turning toward home. When the boat finally comes into view, it feels almost out of place. Engine, metal, speed, a reminder of the world that's been waiting just beyond the tree line. We load up, push off, and the shoreline starts sliding past, faster than we've moved all week. Lakes that would take hours to cross by paddle slip by in minutes. Gear piled at our feet, nobody saying much. Each of us somewhere between two worlds, not quite in the wilderness anymore, and not quite back yet either. Then Crane Lake, docks, vehicles. Canoes get strapped down, one by one, engines turn over. Just like that, the trip becomes a memory. But something of it stays. The quiet way that people come together when the world is simple and the work is shared. The glow of firelight, or the rhythm of the paddle on a glassy lake. You leave the wilderness behind, but if you're lucky, you carry a little of it home with you.